This is how to use two of the workshop cards in the Archetypes Expansion Pack. And this is Build Your Brand and The Way Ahead. And I'm going to use these to generate very short adverts for a product. And I'm going to use a different brand personality based on the 12 archetypes in the pack. Now, I've decided to run this exercise to advertise a product that I know very well, and that is Storyteller Tactics. If you don't know Storyteller Tactics, this is a box of cards full of training tips on how to tell better stories about your work. So, at the risk of getting a bit confusing, I'm using the Archetypes Expansion Pack to generate adverts for the Storyteller Tactics pack. Still with me? Okay. So, Build Your Brand invites you to give your business a personality based on one of the archetypes. In effect, you are speaking to your customer as if you are the ruler or the rebel or the artist. You get the idea. But there's a second workshop called The Way Ahead, and that gets you to think about the person you're trying to help. So your advert is speaking to the ruler or the rebel or the artist in your customer. Now, by running both these exercises, I've written 24 short ads for Storyteller Tactics. Now, some felt stronger than others, and that's a good indicator of what kind of brand personality Storyteller Tactics really has. The real test is which message works for my customers, and that's a bit more trial and error. But at least I've got lots of options now to try. There's a written breakdown of these exercises on our blog, and that goes into a bit more depth on how I used each archetype. The details are in the blurb here on YouTube. So, let's go. Here's the first ad for Storyteller Tactics, delivered by the ruler archetype. Your boss says, "I need you to improve your presentation skills. I want you to tell a clearer story about your work." And you're thinking, "Great advice, boss, thanks. But where do I actually start?" Well, you start here with a pack of Storyteller Tactics. Here you'll find the rules of basic storytelling. If you've got to present a report, pitch to a client, persuade a colleague, it'll be easier with a story. So follow these rules, frameworks and guides, and you will live up to the standard your boss is expecting. Okay, now this is a version delivered to the ruler in my customer. You need your team to tell better stories about your work, about the work your company does. But you can't just tell someone what to do, especially with something as vague as storytelling. You need to show them how. So give them Storyteller Tactics. This box contains the basic rules of storytelling. These rules will improve your team's pitches, presentations, and social media content. Don't just tell them to improve their skills. Show them how to start. Build a storytelling tradition you can all be proud of. And this next ad is delivered by the artist. Storyteller Tactics is a work of art. Now, you might think I'm overselling it. I know it's a pretty box. But look deeper. What I've done here as the author, what David Hill has done as the illustrator, we've taken stuff you kind of sense about how stories work, and we've pinned it down on paper. We've taken a kaleidoscope of creative ideas and made a practical guide. We're giving you a new way of seeing things, and that's what artists do. So come on, try them. Storyteller Tactics will help you create your own stories. Okay, now this version is delivered to the artist in our customer. Do you sometimes have an idea on the tip of your tongue but it won't come out? You feel like you've got a great story but you just can't deliver it right. We've all been there. That's why I wrote Storyteller Tactics, to give you the nudge your creativity sometimes needs. These are rules and frameworks, but they're loose enough that you won't feel like you're being forced into some cookie-cutter, creative, cliché content machine. You'll be telling your own story, just better and faster. Okay, so that's the artist. Next we come to the lover, and this is the advert delivered by the lover. Customers sometimes say to us, as soon as I saw Storyteller Tactics, I just knew I had to have them. You can see why. Just look at the box. Just feel the quality of the cards. Imagine spreading the cards across your desk and feeling your ideas take shape. It's lovely. So, switch off your screens, get out the cards, be in the moment, and find a story you love. Okay, so that's delivered by the lover. Now this is delivered to the lover. Is Storyteller Tactics expensive? Yes, it is. Is it worth it? Well, look at the box. Feel the quality of the cards. This is the luxury end of the career development tools. Yes, it's expensive, but doesn't your career deserve the best? Treat yourself. You and your stories are worth it. Oh, and if you need to justify the cost, don't worry. There's a money-back guarantee if Storyteller Tactics doesn't hit the spot for you. So this is an ad delivered by the innocent. When I started my career as a TV journalist, I was pretty naive. I kept pitching what I thought were good stories, but my colleagues thought were boring. But nobody ever explained why. Nobody said to me, here's why good stories work and why your stories suck. They were acting on gut feel, so I had to watch and copy and learn, and I did. Now 30 years later, the stuff I learned is all here in Storyteller Tactics. I've written what the young me really needed. So now you can get your stories from suck to work much faster than I did. Okay, and now this is delivered to the innocent in our customer. Do you panic when someone says, you need to tell a better story about your work? Are you thinking, yes, I know I should, but how? What kind of story can I use in front of my boss or in front of a client? Well, don't worry. Try Storyteller Tactics. There are rules and prompts and frameworks here that will guide you on your way. So take your first step from storytelling zero to hero with Storyteller Tactics. Now we get a story advert delivered by the rebel. Are you sick of chasing the latest trend on TikTok, bored by the influences of Instagram and tired of copying other people's copy? Well, that's what you're doomed to unless you're willing to take a risk and break the rules. But here's the thing. You can't break the rules of storytelling unless you know what they are. And here in Storyteller Tactics, you'll find the rules of storytelling and ideas on how to break them. In fact, there's a card in here called Rules, Cheats and Rebels that was written just for you. So, less of the same old stories. Start taking creative risks with Storyteller Tactics. Okay, this one now is delivered to the rebel in our audience. I know what you're thinking. Why buy Storyteller Tactics when I can just ask ChatGPT to write a story for me? Well, yes you can, and it will tell a story. But it won't tell your story. How can it? It wasn't there. There's a tsunami of fake bot stories coming. And unless you want your story to get drowned in the noise, you're going to need a hack. And Storyteller Tactics is exactly that. It's how you hack the system. Find the human creative spark in your experience of the world that'll make your story stand out from the crowd. So down with fake stories, rage against the machine, and learn to tell your own story. Okay, so now we come to the companion. So this is Storyteller Tactics speaking to you as a companion brand. Do you want to be a better storyteller? Well, there are plenty of training courses out there, but you know what? training will only get you so far. What you really need is a community, other people like you who are also trying to learn. And that is where Storyteller Tactics comes in. It's not just a set of training cards. There's a community too. We've got over 10,000 customers on our Slack channel. Ask a question there and you'll rapidly get answers. Plus, every month you get a free Ask the Author session with me. So come on, join in, you can do it. We can do it. Okay, and then this is delivered to the companion in our audience. Can you tell a story? Or do you think that storytelling is some kind of high art form practiced by poets and intellectuals and marketing experts? Well, it's not. Stories are the most basic, down-to-earth way we know of passing useful information to each other. Everyone can tell a story. You are a natural-born storyteller. The trouble is, when you sit down at the keyboard, all of that goes out of your head and you start using long words and grand concepts to make it look like you belong. Well, you don't need to. Get your story straight. No airs, no graces, the real you. Storyteller Tactics will show you how. There's no abstract theories, no confusing jargon, just common sense and practical guides. Okay, so that's the companion. Now we come on to the Explorer. So this is an ad delivered by Storyteller Tactics as the Explorer. Now, we've all been told that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. Yeah, but who's got time for that? What if there was a shortcut to inspiration and a way to fast-track the perspiration? Well, that's what Storyteller Tactics does. It gives you some clever shortcuts. I mean, the cards in this box won't tell your stories for you. You're still going to have to work at it. But they will point the way again and again and again. Why blunder around making avoidable mistakes and getting lost in an unfamiliar landscape when there's a map right here? Okay, now this one is delivered to the Explorer in our customer. You know where you want to go. You've got a strategic direction for your business. Fantastic. But you need to bring other people with you. Maybe your colleagues, certainly your customers. How do you do it? Well, you tell them a story about where you are now and how it's okay, but far from perfect. You tell them about the looming threats you've spotted, and you hold out hope that we can all get to a better place. So if you want people to come on a journey, you have to give them a route map. And Storyteller Tactics will help you draw one up. Next we come to the Jester. So this is Storyteller Tactics as Jester. No, that's so boring. Your presentations shouldn't be sending your audience to sleep. I mean, unless you're selling sleeping tablets, I suppose. I mean, look, I know your work is important, but that doesn't mean your presentations have to be dull. You can be serious without being solemn. You might not want to hear this, but when you stand up to speak about your work, you are the star of the show. Don't hide behind your slides. Don't blend into the background by using the same jargon everyone else uses. Tell a story. Tell your story. And Storyteller Tactics will show you how, and with a bit of practice, they'll give you the confidence you need to step into the spotlight. Okay, now this version is delivered to the Jester, but it's actually the Jester that's getting a bit out of control in the customer, the extrovert. Why does an extrovert like you need Storyteller Tactics? You don't have a problem getting up on stage. You've got the confidence to try anything. You'll live by your wits. Yes, and you'll die by them too. Extroverts can make good public speakers, but you can also get carried away. You're entertaining but easily distracted. You show off. You go off on a tangent. Suddenly, it's all about you, which means you don't think about your audience. And that's the number one rule of storytelling. Put your audience first. That's why in Storyteller Tactics, there's an audience profile card. And there are lots of other guides and frameworks here too that'll keep even the wildest extrovert on message. So now we come to the magician, and this is an advert delivered by the magician. Why are we all so addicted to stories? As soon as you're done with work, what do? You escape into a story, whether it's on your phone or TV or a novel or a game. We are enchanted by stories. We just can't get enough. And you can bring some of the magic of storytelling back into your work. No matter what you need to talk about, there's a story lurking inside. You just need to lift up the lid and look for the secret ingredients that make all stories work. And Storyteller Tactics lets you do that. Lift the lid, learn the trick, then sprinkle some of that story magic on your message. Make us go, wow, with Storyteller Tactics. Now, this is delivered to the magician. Imagine you're trying to find the right story to tell about your work. You sit down with a deck of Storyteller Tactics and you start to read the cards, but this is not a book. They're cards. You spread them across your desk. Maybe this one will help, maybe that one. You start thinking with the cards, testing, weighing up, feeling your reaction. I do this all the time with clients, and then it hit me. This is like a tarot card reading. When you spend some time with the cards, you'll find something jump out at you. No matter what project you need to tell a story about, on any platform, for any audience, you don't find the right card finds you. It sounds crazy, but it works. Now we come to the warrior. So this is an advert delivered by the warrior. The cards in Storyteller Tactics aren't just theory. I've tested them all in classrooms, with clients, and most importantly, in my own business. So I know why you love telling optimistic stories in your sales pitch, but I also know when you need to stop, because you're actually turning potential customers off. How do I know? Because I've done it. I've seen my own sales pitches fall flat because I've pushed the wrong story. I've learned the hard way, and now you can avoid my mistakes. In the process, you will, of course, make your own mistakes, but that's how we learn. Welcome to the School of Hard Knocks. Storytelling class is about to begin. Okay, this version is delivered to the warrior in our customer. How long does it take to learn the skills you need to build a successful career? Maybe 3 years for an MBA, 3 months for an online course, or 3 minutes to read one card. That's what we're offering with Storyteller Tactics. There are 54 cards in the box, and each one tells you what it is, when you need to use it, and then on the back of the card, simple instructions on how to put those ideas into action. And then it's over to you. So take a card and start using it right away. Don't sit around learning, just start doing. And then we come to the caregiver. Storytelling is one of those soft skills. It's important, but really hard to teach, right? Well, half right. It is a soft skill, but it's one we've actually all got inside us. You just need the right support to develop that skill. And Storyteller Tactics gives you that support, both in the cards themselves, but also in the wraparound care we take for our customers. You can ask our authors anything in free online sessions. There's a supportive Slack channel. There are case studies and tips on our blog. It isn't easy to learn a new skill, but you're not alone. We've got your back. Okay, and this version is delivered to the caregiver in our audience. If you're trying to develop your workforce, what's the fastest way to give them the skills they need? Communication training is one of the most in-demand courses out there, second only to leadership skills. But courses cost a lot, so you only get to send a few people on them. Storyteller Tactics are a fraction of the cost of a training course, and you can start using them straight away. So, nurture the talents in your team. Get them started on improving their communication skills with Storyteller Tactics. And finally, we come to the Sage. So this is delivered by Storyteller Tactics as a Sage brand. You see, these books, There are hundreds more on my shelves. There's a lot of storytelling wisdom here. But guess what? I read them so you don't have to. Take The 7 Basic Plots by Christopher Booker. It took me months to read this book. It took me hours to write one card based on the first plot, Rags to Riches. And it'll take you minutes to read that card and start using it. But better still, I can tell you when to stop using that card and switch to another. Because there's a lot of storytelling wisdom in here too, from hundreds of books and thousands of hours actually telling stories. Now, all that wisdom is in here too. Storyteller Tactics. Okay, and then we get to do an advert delivered to the sage in our customer. Storytelling is just the hero's journey, right? That 12-stage thing George Lucas used in Star Wars. Well, yes, but it's also the 3-act play, the 7 basic plots. The list goes on. There are lots of models for how stories work. So why just stick to one? Why not have a bunch of them in your back pocket that you can mix and match when you need to? And that's what Storyteller Tactics does. It offers you a range of frameworks and templates so you don't just get stuck with the same old stories. Okay, that's all 12 brands, 24 separate messages. Which one do you think works best?